I'm just going to welcome everybody. Thank you for jumping on this morning. But before we get started, I really wanted to introduce Yahav, who is our fashionista from Melbourne, who is up with another collection of his fabulous clothes. So I'm going to just hand it over to you, Yahav, right now, so you can just quickly let us know what's going on.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Look, I'm going well. I've put everything out of the car. It's all in the garment bags waiting to be revealed. So I won't show you anything right now. But for those of you who I haven't met, I run Paris 99 designer resale salon. So everything is amazing, highest end designer labels. Think of Chanel, Dior, Lacroix, Gaultier, and then of course like Comme des Garçons, your Yamamoto, Martin Margiela, and everything up and in between. Calvin Klein, Donna Karan, think of a name, like I said. So as I said, everything comes from Europe and the States. Friends of mine buy the clothes, they wear them once or twice. Sometimes they don't even wear them. And I carefully curate a very broad range of garments that arrive to my showroom in Melbourne. Now, obviously, Evelyn and I have known each other for almost 10 years now. The time just has flown. And generally, twice a year, I come up to Sydney to do a pop-up trunk show by appointment salon at the Meriton Suites in Waterloo, where I am now. So I'm here I'll be starting the appointments probably Friday, because today I'll be setting up. Tomorrow is a little kind of a businessy day, and then Friday I'll be kicking into gear. So come along, have a gin and tonic with me. I've got a 1.75 litre bottle of Hendrick's that we must finish. And basically we just play dress ups. So tell your clients, bring them along. As image consultants, you actually, you will receive 10% credit towards something you like for whatever amount your client spends. So it's not I'll say it immediately, it's not we have to sell. It's literally like an added bonus, because I will never allow anyone to leave with something that they shouldn't have. It doesn't, neither would you, obviously, for your clientele. So it's basically like a little, there's a fabulous Valentino jacket. Instead of 350, it'll be whatever less, which is always nice. And as for prices, things are generally, 70 to 90% off the original retail. So as I said, if say a Valentino jacket was $3,500, it will be anywhere between $300 to $600, which is pretty good, if I may say so myself. And as well as that, I also have my own designs that I filter through. And often Evelyn is a great supporter of my work, and I'm very appreciative of her for that. And it's all very drapey and asymmetric and interesting. And if those of you are wondering, oh, he looks a bit different, and it's a kind of a good lead into today's topic, I did cut my hair after 3 years, and I thought I'm just going to try and go like Game of Thrones, Dragon Woman white. And the first time I tried, the woman at the hair shop was like, no, that's just a wig. There's no such color. And after about, 3 tries of bleaching and toning and bleaching, I pretty much got there. So enjoy today's session. Thank you for this time, Evelyn, and we will catch up very soon. I can't wait to see you all.
Fabulous. We'll see you soon, Yahav. Thank you. Thank you. This topic of how to transition to go grey. I'm in that unenviable moment in my life where I've seriously got to think about transitioning to go grey. It's a bit daunting, and I think a lot of women find that it is quite a daunting experience. They need a very, very good colorist to be able to advise how to go grey gracefully. Well, I've learned a few tricks over the last couple of days, so I'm going to show you some of the things that I've discovered. So what happens when your hair goes grey? Hereditary will determine our follicles just simply slow down the melanin production, and eventually, look, it starts off with your hair going lighter, and then you start noticing the greys coming through, and then eventually the melanin may end up stopping altogether, which is where you would often look at our grandparents or own parents and just see, you know, when they ended up going grey. My grandmother ended up going very salt and peppery. I was actually hoping that that wouldn't happen to me, because that's really quite a difficult grey with a lot of dark and then white coming through, but it can be done. You end up getting quite a very light to a white grey. How will I transition from the colour I've got now, which has been happening now for a couple of decades? I've been dyeing my hair and highlighting it, making it into a colour that I used to be and no longer. So hair isn't always a uniform grey. It can be a whole mixture, and it can be really interesting. Even if it's not, if it's salt and peppery, we can actually work with that with highlights and lowlights. I asked my partner what he thinks about me going grey, and he doesn't like the idea at all. And so I'm going to have to just cope with this, because if I'm really clever, and I'm thinking, am I going to be really clever about this? Well, I'm going to try. It's going to look still very youthful. And the nice thing about this is that I might end up looking wiser as well. That would be nice. But a lot of women also in the business world can be a little worried about this, because they might think that, you know, they'll look older. Maybe there's a little bit of bias about the fact that they look older than their counterparts. You know, are they up to the job? There's a little bit of that going on as well. But these days, when you get young people spending a fortune going grey, I think that's really quite hilarious, actually. So maybe grey is no longer associated with being old. Maybe it's actually just a bit of a fun trend. So there are four main ways to transition from dyed to grey. And one is just simply to go cold turkey. You need a lot of patience for this one. And I don't think as image consultants, I don't know, I don't think we can just let it just grow out naturally. I see some women, and one woman in particular I remember, she had absolutely white hair from here to here, and the rest was still the leftover of her dyed hair. And it just looked so skanky in a way. If you're going to go cold turkey, the best way is to really cut your hair really short. And it looks like that's what you've done, Bernie, is cut it really short and let it grow out. It actually looks lovely. You've got what we call almost a buzz cut. There's some wonderful selected dyes to blend in, and that's the way I'm probably going to go. Short of buying a wig, cutting my hair short and applying a bit of patience. So that pretty much, that's it. That's what we've got at our disposal. But let's have a look at some of these ways to do it. Use low lights, gives a blended effect, and it's got to be a really good colour as a low light. It's got to work back with your own hair. So, you know, when I go through these, I'll certainly be asking some of you who have obviously done the transition what that was like for you and how you managed that. Another one is using highlights. And I think that's absolutely stunning, especially with you've either got darker dyed hair or light hair. I think the use of highlights can actually be very attractive. It's got to be done well. And you've got to get your hairdresser not to do them in a uniform way. Otherwise, you will end up looking like a grey tiger, and that looks terrible. So transition number 3 is using the Bellyage technique, which I think is absolutely beautiful. Costs a bit of money. You'll be spending a bit more on your hair than you might have done if you'd been just dyeing it with one colour, because it does take some time. And you've got to have a very good hairdresser to be able to balance the highlights, low lights, mid lights, and they've got to know where to place them on your head. Yeah, and using the right colours. Okay, simply softening the growth line and then just waiting. This actually looks quite amazing. You would have to be very confident to be able to just pull this off and just let it just grow through. But look how attractive this woman looks with her full head of grey hair. I think grey is beautiful. I would never have said that once, but yeah, it is. It's really beautiful. And I'm noticing that when the hair comes through grey, it actually balances. Look, nature doesn't really get it wrong. You know, it really looks good against the skin tone. It's amazing. Some of these women will look younger with their grey hair than they looked when they dyed it. Let's have a look here. Temporary pigment treatments in product that I'm now starting to use just around the front of my hair, which has now gone white. If I let my hair go naturally and still with the salt and pepper out at the back, I'd look like a schnauzer. That's not what I'm going to do right now. I've got a product that I actually sort of paint on down the part line and certainly around the hairline. It's sort of okay, but it's not going to be a long-term thing. It's good for the initial start of the transition. It does wash off quite easily. Getting your hairdresser to remove the dye from your hair is very harsh. If you've got very fine, delicate hair, it's not going to go well. It could probably end up looking like shredded wheat and start breaking. So that's not an option for me. But if you've got very strong hair, and some hair as it comes through grey can end up almost looking like Brillo pad, it's so strong. Your hair, if you wanted to get rid of the dye in your hair would actually be up to taking that treatment. This is a picture from the internet, but I have seen women with very strong, this is typical of very strong coarse hair, and it's just beautiful because it's so voluptuous as they're going grey. And this is what we call almost like a graphite grey. And on this young girl, it looks amazing. It looks like she's purposely done it, but this is a natural grey. We can play with hairstyles, you know, doing something totally different and adding some strands of highlights. Styling could be a way to go. This is one way you can do it, especially with white hair, but the two-tiered approach, I've seen this done in a very dramatic way as well, where the back has been done in a very dark graphic grey, and yet the front, for somebody that's already light grey, it looks very, very dramatic. And it depends on sort of grey you go. The multiple highlights for mid to light grey, I think this is really attractive. And there are lots of different greys, and I've just mentioned a few here: platinum, ash, metallic blonde. There's also that graphite grey on, and the tinted balms and grey blending for salt and pepper. It's very nice, and you'll see the typical dark dyed hair, and then how amazing it looks when you actually embrace your greys. Yes, the last thought I had was hats and scarves, and I only just famous people that have embraced their greys. I've forgotten this lady's name, but she's got a familiar face. Maybe you will know her. Here's Melanette. Now she's gone the complete shave, and of course, you know, this is, if I ever did this, I would actually be wearing a wig. I don't know if I've got a well-shaped skull. You'd have to have that. But anyway, she looks wonderful now that her hair's grown through. I think the women here look younger with their grey hair than they did trying to hang on to their dyed hair. Now we've got some famous people that are embracing their greys. We've got Nicole Kidman, although I have a feeling that she dyes her hair still when she needs to for a movie. We've also got Jennifer Aniston, and we'll get back to our gallery. Who else is here to join us? Okay, great. Well, I just wanted to open this up to discussion, especially for those that have actually gone through this, because we're at that stage now where we could either keep dyeing our hair or we can then start to transition. And if there's anyone here that would like to share, that would be fantastic, because I'm about to embark on the journey. So who would like to unmute and share their journey? Bernie.
Yay. Well, I wasn't dyeing my hair per se. I was having it colored with a demi-permanent color, which washes out over a month. So every month I would have my hair cut, and this is just like you've seen me at conference and so on. Have my hair cut, have the color done, yep, that's it. And so I stopped doing that. So it's not, I don't really have a line particularly. When it was growing out, it just kind of like faded out. But it's interesting. I'm giving this 6 months. I could always go back. You can see I have the white goes around the side and kind of in the back this way. It's dark at the very bottom. It's just kind of frosty gray at the top. I have a little bit of color left in this front, but you know, it hasn't been too tough. Having your hair cut short and going longer is easier. But I wanted to also comment on the women who look better with their gray hair, because if your hair is dark, like you said, God wants your hair to be lighter or something to that effect. If your hair's dark like it was when you were very young, then your face tends to look puffy. So you need to lighten up one way or another to avoid having that puffy look.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about the puffy look, and I agree. Who wants to look puffy? I've just noticed over and over that the women that I've seen online as well as in person, that when they've gone their grey, I think, wow, that does look amazing. Got a totally different idea of grey, and I think it's disassociating it from aging. And I don't know whether that's occurred because of, you know, the young ones now wanting to go that fabulous grey. And a young girl that is in a club that I belong to, she's naturally grey, and she's got this rich, coarse hair. It's voluptuous. It's just so gorgeous, very glamorous. And she's got this boyfriend who wants her to dye it. And I said to him, actually, I said to her, first of all, I said, I love your hair. And now, is that purposeful or is that natural? She said, it's natural. I said, well, you are one lucky girl. And she said, yeah, but my boyfriend wants me to dye it. And I'm thinking, I wonder why she looked so beautiful. And I'm thinking, is it because, you know, he's about her age, which would be about mid-40, and he doesn't want to look like he, you know, he's got in his own head that he could be going out with his grandma, you know, not with her face, but anyway. And I had a chat with him. I said, I can't believe how beautiful your girlfriend's hair is. She's looking beautiful. And do you know how much people are paying to get that hair color right now? Young people that, he said, is that right? I said, absolutely, yes. She is so lucky, and she's not having to spend the money on getting it to look like that because other people are trying that. He said, oh, and you know what? There's never been another word since about her hair. She was so happy with me. The next time the club meeting was on, she said, he's accepted my hair. It's great. Well, now, Miss Marina, you've gone the transition. So how was that for you? Because it looks like you've got, you know, you've let your hair grow a lot, and I'm seeing more grays here, but some of the color is still there. How did that go for you during your transition?
You guys hear me? So yeah, sometimes with laptop, the sound is not very good. So I haven't done it yet, but at the moment, as you said, there's a lot of grays there. And I don't know, I'm not sure whether I'm ready to risk like you giving me a compliment, but not sure. Because as you know, because I come from hairdressing background, so I've seen it all. I've seen good and bad. I've seen all the ladies who, as you know, in Australia, we have, people age and they look timeless, which was, it's fantastic, right? And I used to see those older women turning babushkas overnight when they stopped coloring the hair. Like it actually was the opposite, and it was quite a shock, and it was a negative impression for me. But again, we're talking about women who were in their mid 70s, early 80s. Yes, all of a sudden, drastic effect. With my hair, not sure even what to do. Not sure. It took me a while to grow it. I'm not sure if it suits me, but I love the fact that it's long and the hair itself is beautiful. Okay, so I've always looked good with short haircuts. You remember our times, yeah? But part of me is not scared, just reluctant to let go that mop of hair, that was growing for some time and it's just wavy and.
Well, can I give you some feedback? And I'm sure others would like to give you some feedback too. I think it looks beautiful. It's beautiful. It looks like it's been purposely done. You're a very lucky girl. And, if you look, I don't think you have to do a thing. On the other hand, if you wanted it to blend more with the hair at the bottom, you could just have some highlights put in with just a couple of blonde foils, which would be stunning, but you don't have to. I think it just looks incredible.
Because that color is very close to what we used to have in childhood. So I finally found that it's not a caramel, right? But it's, so the color itself is nice, as with the tint that I'm using, it's nice, but I do have a lot of silver at the front, and I might, and because it's now large regrowth, it's a pity to dye it again.
Yes, I agree. But oils are, it's sort of, I guess it is still a treatment, and they can be very hard on fine hair. But have you noticed, though, that women that keep dyeing their hair as they get older, it tends to make them look older?
Okay.
That's why I don't want that for me. And it'll be interesting. I'll be honest with you. I will share exactly what I'm going through. Has anyone else tried the grey? Because I can't see anyone here that's got, you've still got colour in your hair, or it might be natural. Who has tried to go grey and then decided to go back? No, nobody.
Evelyn, can I say, I have a client who's a medium warm bronze, and she let her hair go grey. To me now it looks as if all her colouring is drained. You don't see her beautiful hazel eyes anymore, and her gorgeous complexion it's not showcased because she's so warm that the grey, I believe, is just draining her and making her look older.
I've often found that somebody that has had, say, really warm hair, red or that really deep gold, they can actually go what we call a dirty grey, and that is not really that attractive. A colleague of ours in Melbourne, and all of you would know her, you would have met her at some stage, she decided to go cold turkey and she went grey. It was a dirty grey. And she decided she was going to go a la natural, and that was it. And I finally I couldn't stand it any longer, actually. It was my feedback for her. I just said, you can't do this. You've got to do something, but you can't do this, because it drained actually on her warmer skin. It really looked quite draining. And you're right, Noni, that was definitely a draining effect. So she went back to dyeing her hair. the interesting thing that came out of this was that I noticed her hair was getting lighter and lighter and lighter. And what was happening was that the melanin production, I asked her, I said, are you purposely going blonde? She said, actually, I noticed my hair then from the grey that it had gone, had then gone blonde. And she said, I've just stayed with the blonde. I said, well, that little medium section of, going cold turkey and going grey, the grey then changed again and became like a blonde grey, and it looks great. She doesn't have to do anything with it now. So there are transitions even within the colour. Even if you went, grey and didn't do anything, you'll notice that your hair still has a transition to possibly, and I'm hoping white for me, because if I go white, I won't stay white. I'll have so much fun with rinses and all sorts of things, and maybe a rich fuchsia streak down the front or whatever. I'm going to have fun if it goes white. Anyway, we'll see what
basically
happens.
grey is a cool shade, so I can't see how the warm people are going to look great with grey or white hair when their natural colouring's so warm.
Yes, but then it depends. It depends on, there is white hair and then there's that soft white hair. So everyone has their own way of going grey. Bernie.
There's also a lot of redheads I've seen, or people with red toned hair. When their hair does go gray, it's not gray, it's like a creamy white. Like, you remember Linda Thomas? She did, her hair went to that. I mean, it looks blonde. It doesn't, and it's warm. So those people are lucky.
They are very lucky. I think I'm going to end up going a bit of a funny salt and peppery grey, and I'll be praying that that will pass pretty quickly. So any other thoughts about going grey? Ilona?
I think that all women aging need a frame around the face. That if your face skin is changing, you don't know that. I know because I'm the oldest. You don't know. Your facial skin tone is getting pale. And if you don't give a colored frame, then that paleness will come out and will govern your personality if it's white. I was once, before I came here, 20 years ago, I had blonde streaks in my hair, blonde. I have a photo and I just looked at it and that's pale. I looked like I didn't wear makeup. So I had to wear more makeup to equalize that tone. So if you want to wear less makeup, how it will come together? Because the makeup will be less with aging. Or just corriger la nature, but for a young face, it's not a challenge to go gray. But an aging face, together with your neck and décolletage, and it's a challenge how it will match the whole.
Emma, have you got thoughts about that?
I think there is, yes, there is definitely something to that. I notice with clients who I've worked with who've gone lighter hair, and myself playing around with lighter hair colours, that you definitely do need to change your makeup and perhaps change the colours that you wear so that you do end up with some level of contrast. you know, between, if the contrast is gone between kind of skin and hair, then obviously we're needing to introduce some other contrast between, say, skin and clothing, or skin and jewelry, or glasses, or something else, so that you haven't got just you're devoid of contrast or devoid of colour. I think there are definitely ways of doing it, and there are definitely people who have a pale skin and the pale hair, or the pale sort of platinum-y colour, and you often see those women, you know, with a beautiful splash of red lipstick, or some, you know, really dramatic dark glasses frames, and they look amazing. But I agree with Alona. I think you have to, if you're going to do that, whether it's going lighter from brunette to blonde, or transitioning to grey, then you are going to have to rethink your the colours you wear on your face and around your face, whether it's makeup, clothing, accessories, and so on.
Yes, I agree. In fact, I've had a client not so recently, and she wore the granny glasses, which didn't have a frame at all. She had lovely grey hair, and I absolutely, agreed that she shouldn't touch it because it was such a great grey, but there was no contrasting. And once she got her colour done, and that's what she wanted, was to get her colour done so she could actually start wearing colour a lot more than she did before, I suggested she get some really beautiful frames. You know, she wore the frames all the time. And I said, why are you wearing frameless glasses? You know, and she said, I don't want people to think I'm wearing glasses. I said, look, we can see you wearing glasses. Get some contrast happening. So I agree, absolutely. Yeah. So I think this has been great. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to buy a wig. I'm going to buy a wig that is actually, I've had the worst haircut I've ever had in my life. And this is it partly growing back. It was all over the place. I don't know what happened. But anyway, I noticed that around menopause, my hair changed. I lost a lot of it around menopause, and it grew back a different way. It was finer, and I didn't have as much of it. It changed. And I've noticed as the years have gone by that I'm actually getting quite thin across the front here. The front of my hair is not as thick as it is in the back. So the front has diminished. So I'm going to have to be very careful. I've got fine hair, not as much of it. So this whole transition of, you know, our various stages of our life, it's not just the body that changes, it's even our hair, eyesight, you name it. But I'm going to buy a wig in a similar style that I've got now, and in a similar colour. I'm going to get it coloured. It's going to be a natural hair wig, and I'm going to wear that whenever I go out. If I'm at home, I'm not going to worry too much, and I'm just going to let my hair grow out. Yes, Bernie, you've got something to add to this.
Well, about your wig, I don't know that you might want to reconsider natural hair, because when, you know, it just needs to be, when it's washed to be styled, whatever, it takes a lot of effort. If you get a synthetic, you never have to deal with it, because it's that same. My cousin has this kind of disease or condition where her hairline has gone way back to here. So she has to wear a wig always. And she said, you want the lace cap, so it's cool, and synthetic. And there's some really, really nice ones. So check that out. Go.
Thank you. See, another great tip. I will definitely get a lace capped synthetic wig, similar to this. Whenever my man comes home at night, I'll be donning that just before he walks in the door for maybe 3 or 4 months. And I will get my own hair cut really, really short. You'll all see it. I'll share. And we'll see how this grey comes through. But as soon as I can, I'm going to end up then getting some really great highlights, maybe some low lights as well. And we'll see what happens. Mm.
What colour is your wig going to be?
I'm actually going to go similar to what I've got now. I could actually go a very interesting mix of grey for the wig. Maybe I'll buy two. So, yeah. So, Jeanette, yes.
I got it. Yes. I looked into it a while ago because I was starting to suffer a bit from the chemicals and hair colours, and I colour every 3 weeks. And I did find a hair colour that was super, super gentle. So I have kept colouring it, but otherwise I was seriously looking down the barrel of going grey. And one of the things I did was I went to a local place that do wigs. And one of the things that they suggested, and particularly for people with longer hair, because I can't wear short hair like you do, even. It looks beautiful on you, but it just does not work on me. But they suggested a top-up wig, which I'd never heard of before, but it basically just covers the top of your head. So this is all growing out with colour. You've got the colour on the top, and then when you're ready, chop it all off, pull the wig off.
There you go. That's a good idea. I'll have to talk to you more about that, Jeanette. That sounds great.
Okay.
Well, whatever my strategies are, I'll be very, very happy to share my journey or struggle. Emma.
There are some great Facebook groups around also that are for transitioning to grey. So I think it's probably useful to join a group like that, where that is the sole discussion is about transitioning, tips and techniques, watch outs, don't do this, I've done this, it doesn't work, etc., etc. So I think that, anyone that's wanting to transition to grey, I would be directing them to a Facebook group specifically for that, topic on that discussion.
Very good. Looking after your grey is another thing too. If you're going to have highlights put in, highlights, especially if they're not particularly white, can end up going a little bit sort of yellowy. So there are conditioners that have got a blue-based conditioner that's really important to use so that you can keep that looking white and not going a funny dull yellow. Looking after, yeah.
Purple shampoo.
Yes. Oh, okay. So the shampoo is another thing. So would that be like a blue shampoo?
Well, purple. It's
purple. Ah, okay. We're all going to learn together, aren't we? Oh, gosh.
Well, because on the color wheel, purple is opposite to yellow, so that balances it out.
That's right. Exactly. Yes. Absolutely. That's why my hairdresser puts in like a blue, toner into the dye that he mixes up, or it mixed up for me. So, and I noticed always a touch of this blue toner would go in. I think it was like 5% in the mix. Yeah, very good. Well, we're all going to learn together. I think this is great. Any other tips and tricks before we close off on this morning?
Just had one more, and this is not me, it's Carla Mathis. And she's gone completely gray, and she has a very dramatic hairdo that's like long on this side and very short here and so on. And she says, fine to go gray, but you really need to have a super duper haircut, something really, I'm trying to think of words like snappy or
a very edgy haircut, I think.
Edgy, that's it.
To avoid that, really, because I think when you've got the grey colour and then you've got a very pedestrian hairdo, then you do have that aging effect, because it sort of can look like you've just given up. Whereas when you've got a grey colour and a very edgy cut, I mean, you look at May Musk, you look at some of those, fabulous mature age models, and there's a lot of them about these days, which I think is awesome, because it's a great role model, for us to be seeing older women with grey hair but looking amazing. But I agree, yes, a very edgy cut to counterbalance the fact that you've got the you know, what we would traditionally think of as the crone hair, you know, the older wise woman hair, edgy cut. Agreed.
So, Evelyn, would you be sharing your little PowerPoint presentation? Because I love some of the photos on there.
Yes, absolutely. Well, usually with these sessions, I take a bit of time to edit out anything. I don't think there'll be much editing with this session. It's been really, really good. Great tips. But then I will upload it to YouTube, and then I'll share the link on our group, on the Image Consultants United group. Lovely. All right, ladies. Well, I'm going to wrap this up today. I'll wish you a wonderful day or evening, wherever you are in the world. And we'll see you next time.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
All the very best. Bye-bye.